The council had ruled for so long that its authority was no longer questioned. It called itself the Council of Order, a body of representatives from 100 species. But its purpose had twisted beyond recognition. What had begun as a coalition for peace had become an oligarchy of terror. Its fleets prowled the stars. Its judges decreed which civilizations would rise and which would vanish into Ashdod. To defy the council was suicide. They made examples of those who tried. Planets sterilized, cultures erased, leaders paraded in chains across the holonet. Each act of brutality strengthened the council's legend, and soon every species bowed their heads. The chamber of the council echoed with laughter, often not of joy, but of arrogance. The delegates laughed at rebellion, laughed at uprisings, laughed at the idea that anything could oppose them. And above all, they laughed at humanity. Humans had once been part of the council. Thousands of years ago, fierce, reckless, brilliant humans had stood tall among the stars. They had been explorers, soldiers, and innovators, a species that refused to yield. But then they had disappeared. A great silence fell across their colonies. Earth itself went dark. Their fleets were gone, their outposts abandoned, their seat in the chamber left empty. Extinct, the council declared, the price of hubris. The delegates mocked the empty chair. They mocked the myths whispered by old races that humanity had not perished, but was waiting. The council's laughter silenced any who dared hope for 5,000 years. The galaxy trembled beneath them till the day the laughter stopped. It began on the war-torn world of Regos, where rebels fought the council's occupation. The rebels were starving, their weapons outdated, their resistance broken. Imperial dreadnoughts circled the planet, preparing the final bombardment, and then, without warning, the void tore open. Ships emerged from hyperspace, not council, not any known design. Their hulls were sleek, their engines burned with blue fire, and their weapons glowed with power the rebels could not name. The council fleet moved to engage. They did not return. From orbit to ground, the invaders struck with precision. Council tanks melted into slag, fighters fell from the sky, and on the planet's surface, soldiers in unfamiliar armor strode into battle. Their movements impossibly swift, their weapons singing with death. They carried no banners, but their words spread faster than fire. We are humanity. We are back. The council was shaken for the first time in centuries in the great chamber. Delegates shouted over one another. Impossible, cried one. Extinct, snarled another. But reports flooded in from across the galaxy. Fleets shattered, garrisons overwhelmed, uprisings spreading like wildfire, armed by mysterious allies who fought like legends. The council sent its finest armadas to crush them. Each came back in ruins or not at all. The laughter faded. Humanity had not died, millennia ago. When the wars of expansion threatened to consume them, they enacted the Exodus Protocol. Vast populations retreated into cryogenic vaults, hidden on forgotten worlds, while fleets cloaked themselves in deep space. AI custodians remained awake, calculating, upgrading, preparing. They had watched the council's rise. They had studied its tactics, its weaknesses, its corruption. And when the custodians judged the galaxy ready, they awakened their masters. The silence was broken. Humanity walked back into the war. Commander Arik Denel, one of the first awakened, stood on the bridge of the Resolute. His eyes scanned the council fleet that barred their way. Status, he asked. 2 dreadnoughts, 20 escorts. His officer replied, they outnumber us 5 to 1. Danel's lips curved in a cold smile. Then they'll be easier to find. The battle began. Council ships unleashed torrents of plasma fire. Human vessels slid between the blasts as though they had rehearsed it 1,000 times. Space folded under their drives. Weapons tore through shields like paper. Minutes later, the council fleet was wreckage drifting in silence. Danel gave the only order that mattered. Transmit to the sector. Let them know who did this. Let them know humanity has returned. Hope spread like wildfire. Species who had cowered for centuries now dared to resist. Enslaved worlds rose up, armed by humans who fought not to conquer, but to liberate. The council's grip faltered. The chamber echoed no longer with laughter, but with fear. At last the council summoned its supreme leader, the High Consul, to address the crisis. Draped in golden robes, eyes burning with pride and malice, he snarled at the delegates. They are relics, he said, a dead race playing at war. We crushed them once, we will crush them again. The council is eternal. But even as he spoke, the chamber's ancient relay crystals flickered. They had lain dormant since the earliest days, and yet now they glowed with unfamiliar light. A figure appeared in hologram, human, armored, scarred, eyes like cold fire. You sit on a throne of fear, the human said, voice calm but carrying across the chamber. You laugh at power. You laugh at the suffering you cause. You laughed at us. Double quotes. The delegates stared, frozen. But we are awake. We are walking back into the war you made of this galaxy, and we do not laugh. The war escalated. Worlds burned. But this time, not under the council's hand. For every system lost, 3 more rose. For every rebel crushed, 10 more stood in their place. Humanity's fleets were not infinite. But they fought with a precision that turned small numbers into decisive victories. They struck the Council's supply chains. They dismantled its propaganda networks. They freed species thought broken beyond repair, and wherever they fought, one truth spread. The humans had returned, and the galaxy was no longer alone. The Council's last defense was its capital, a fortress world wreathed in a fleet of 10,000 ships. They waited, arrogant still, believing no force could challenge them there. Humanity came anyway. The battle raged for 3 days, fire consuming the skies, the ground shaking with bomb. Council dreadnoughts fell one by one, their wrecks crashing into the surface below. Rebellions within the city tore through its defenses. At last, human soldiers stormed the Council chamber itself. The delegates huddled in fear as armored figures advanced, weapons humming with restrained power. The High Consul spat defiance. "You cannot end us. We are the galaxy's law. Without us, there will be chaos." The human commander looked down at him, voice low but unshakable. "There has already been chaos. Your law was terror. Your order was slavery. That ends today." And so it did. The Council fell. Its fleets scattered, its leaders cast down, its banners torn from the skies. The galaxy did not weep for it. Freed worlds sang instead, voices raised for the first time in millennia without fear, and in every corner of space, in every whisper passed between rebels and children and dreamers, one truth endured. The Council had laughed at its own power, but humanity had walked back into the war, and nothing would ever be the same again.